Hey everybody, this is Jackie from Jack Gets Lost Down a Book Hole. Today I thought I would film a video of tropes that I love in fiction. Unfortunately, it's a little harder for me to come up with tropes that I hate because I'm pretty much easy to please, and I even have no problem with love triangles. I mean, I get frustrated with them, but I'm more okay with love triangles than most people. I know a lot of people in the booktube community can't stand them, and I understand, I get it. But I'm cool with them. But I was having a hard time thinking about other tropes that I may hate. So I decided to just go ahead and tell you guys the tropes that I love. This is only a few of them that I can think of. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I said the 6 tropes that I love. Okay. The first one is best friends falling in love trope. I love that trope. I think it's so sweet, and these two people, the two best friends, already know each other really well. And that's what a relationship is about, getting to know a person and being able to be with that person despite their flaws and bad habits, loving them no matter what. And not because you feel obligated to love this person, but you genuinely love them with their bad habits and all. And plus, I think I've always liked that trope because it's actually how my parents met. They were best friends first. In fact, they went to school overseas on a base, so everybody in their class was close to each other and were considering each other friends. There was really not a lot of cliques going. Well, I think according to my dad, there were cliques, but it wasn't like the stereotypical high school where there's the popular clique, there's the theater geeks and the nerds and the goths and the people that it wasn't as narrow-minded and snobbish as it's portrayed in like movies and books and stuff. But there were cliques. But still, everybody was friendly towards each other. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody was close. So my parents were friends first, and I think that's good because then you take the time to know each other and get to know each other and find out what you like and don't like about that person, and you find you can easily decide, okay, could I live with this person's the things about them that I don't like? Will I be okay with it? Do I secretly actually like those things, those little quirks of theirs? And that's why I like that trope, because I think it's sweet that all of a sudden these two people look at each other in a way that's more than just friends. And that's one of the that actually brings me to a trope that I hate, one of the few that I hate, which is the aspect of, this is, like I said, I'm cool with love triangles, but there's certain aspects about love triangles I don't like. Like when the girl has a best friend, a male best friend, but then all of a sudden the mysterious, sexy new guy comes into her life, and he's mysterious and sexy and, badass and everything, and, he does love her, he falls in love with her, he does care about her and everything, but the best friend has always been there for her. He's always had a crush on her, but he's never told her because he's too scared. And, he's too scared of rejection and everything, and it's just, and when he does, it's proven right that he should be scared of rejection, because the author always writes where she chooses the hot, mysterious, broody, sexy guy, which normally I like broody guys to an extent. I mean, there's half the time there's a lot of too much brood going on with these male characters. Like, that's why I don't always like Angel I'm more of a Spike fan than an Angel fan from Buffy, because Angel broods too much to me. And don't hate on me if you are an Angel fan, please. That's just how I feel. But I do like Angel. I mean, I just prefer Spike over him when it comes to, Team Angel or Team Spike. And yes, I remember about the rape thing. I know he almost raped her. I get that. I'm not blind to that. I wish that did not happen in the show, but I know it did. But anyway, that's a whole nother bag of worms. Well, that would require a whole nother video. But basically, that the one of the tropes I can recall that I do hate is when she always chooses the broody, sexy, mysterious guy. You know, even if he loves her, I still feel sorry for the best friend who's always been loyal. Of course, yes, I get that some people are annoyed because, oh, the only reason he now is willing to tell her and realizes his feelings for her is because she's with someone else, so he could lose her now, so that's the only reason. I get that. But I still like that. I still like the best friend falling in love with the girl trope. Or even if it's reversed, where the female best friend falls in love with the male best friend. Although you see it more in YA, where it's the other version. That's why I didn't mention why I keep saying she and him falling in love with her. Because it's more common that the male best friend, the nerdy male best friend, falling in love with the female protagonist. And part of me thinks is that they make girls out to be shallow and they only like the sexy, mysterious, broody, muscular guy. And I'm sure there are some, and not that there's anything wrong with those guys. I mean, I am attracted to those, sometimes I like those guys too. But I always have a soft spot for the nerdy best friend who's always been there for her and is sweet and stuff. Which, actually, ironically, when I talk about this now, I just watched a video where someone kind of talked about how they don't like that. And of course, I respect their opinion if they're watching this. But I remember them talking, they have the opposite feelings, where they don't like, when the guy's all like, the male best friend is all like, I've always been there for you. And I get, the way she explained it, I get why she wouldn't like it. But basically the trope, but basically I like the best friends falling in love trope. I think it's really sweet. Okay, so the next one, love to hate. Love/hate relationships. Which I think the next week's Top 5 Wednesday is going to be about this. These kind of relationships. Although people have, it's kind of, other people I think were confused by this one because they don't know if it's that or it's, tropes that or couples that you hated in the beginning but you all of a sudden love now, or I think people were kind of confused about that one. But I interpret it as relationships where the two people at first dislike or hate each other but then fall in love. Which I have a lot of those, but I might have to delve into the TV area, the screen couples, more so than the book couples. But yeah, those love/hate relationships. I enjoy watching those because I'm staring, whether it's in a book or I'm staring at the screen, and I'm like, oh my god, you guys are so gonna hook up or whatever. Oh my god, I know you secretly like each other. You're just trying to deny your feelings, and it's very entertaining to watch. It's frustrating, but at the same time, it's very entertaining. I just read a book that had that trope. It's called Joining by Joanna Lindsay, and it kind of has a Taming of the Shrew vibe to it. So part of me is a little against it because to be fair, I haven't read Taming of the Shrew, but from some of the criticisms I heard about Taming of the Shrew, I kind of agree with them. But again, I haven't read that play. So I've only read 2 Shakespeare plays, but that was because we read it in school. Well, although I've seen Much Ado About Nothing several times. So I watched it. I watched this group in our neighborhood. The theater people in our neighborhood performed. They performed Taming of the Shrew. I watched that I saw that last week, and I've seen the 90s movies with Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson. I've seen that one quite a few times. But anyway, back to this book. So it kind of had that type of relationship where these two people could not stand it because, first off, the heroine, it was back in
early 1200s, I think. So medieval period. The guy was kind of arrogant. The girl kept calling him a brute. He was very, cocky and confident, and like I said, very arrogant. and then she's kind of a tomboy. She doesn't act like a lady. She loves to go hunting and hates wearing dresses. And this was an arranged marriage, and and when they, right away, like when they're kids, she's good at taming animals and getting animals to trust her. She has this close bond with animals, and she has this pet. He shows up as a little boy to tell her, we're gonna get married. You're gonna be my wife, because of course back then there were arranged marriages all the time, and women didn't have a lot to say, which was one of the things she really hated, was that women didn't have a lot to say. So he shows up, and of course her first impression is like, oh no, I'm not marrying you. And it also goes back to, like, before they talk about how when she was a few weeks before that, she heard about a woman being beaten by her husband, and that, the village people saying, oh, she deserved it. She deserved to be beaten. And so she's terrified of the idea of marrying, especially when she can't choose her own husband. And then this little boy shows up and says, we're going to get married when we're old enough. And so the last thing she wants is, that's the last thing she wants. And right away she can't. She hates the boy. And her pet hawk attacks the boy because he senses his mistress's anger and attacks the boy. And the boy, in self-defense, throws the hawk off of, or no, actually it was a falcon. He in his self-defense, the boy throws the falcon off of his arm, and the falcon hits the wall and dies, but he doesn't know that. He's just worried, he's trying to protect himself. And it makes sense. Of course, if you're attacked by some animal, even if it's someone's pet, your first instinct is is defend yourself. And he did not know, and the girl, she tackles him, because she loves her animals. She loves her pets, and the falcon was her baby. It was her precious little pet. So her first instinct, of course, is to attack the boy, and then he defends himself against her. He pushes her out of the way he does not mean to hurt her. He just wants to get her off him because she's attacking him. So of course he's gonna be like, but unfortunately she ends up stumbling, and sprains her ankle, and she panics. And during that time she was panicking because she thought, oh my god, I'm gonna become a cripple now. So ever since that event, she's hated this boy. And then also, and this boy, the last thing he wants to do is marry this, because he doesn't want to marry this girl any more than she wants to marry him, especially since she does not act like a lady. She's very wild and untamable and uncontrollable, so he doesn't want to marry her any more than she wants to marry him, and he wants to enjoy his life of leisure, hooking up with other women that act like ladies. And if he is forced to marry a woman, then he wants her he wants a woman that acts like a lady and is beautiful and all that kind of stuff. So he avoids going to see her, but his parents still go see the girl's parents because they were friends and everything, and they want this alliance to work. So the parents continuously visit each other despite, and the boy becoming a man, he becomes a soldier, and he's constantly at war and everything, so to avoid going to see the girl. But then eventually his father's like, you're gonna see her, you're gonna marry her whether you like it or not. And he unfortunately goes there. He even mistakes her twin sister for her at one point, and when he shows up, but then he realizes, thinking that, and he also makes the mistake of thinking the stable boy who's really her, that he's just a stable boy, and he kind of bullies him a little bit. And so their first impressions, so even then, they still cannot stand each other, and it's and I'm so conflicted because when you realize that he's stuck with her, he's very bossy and controlling, and he's like, you do what I tell you to do. And I'm a little conflicted about it because historically, yeah, that's probably how it was, but at the same time, as a woman, I'm like, no, she has every right, and I get why she's pissed off and why she's such temperamental, such a fiery spirit. So I get why she's pissed off at him, but at the same time, part of me at the same time wants it to work out. And of course, I know it's going to work out because I have a bad habit of cheating and reading until the end just to see how everything turns out. I mean, fantasy books, I don't do that as much, but books that aren't hardcore, that aren't fantasy, I tend to do that. I tend to cheat and go to the back of the book to see. I mean, there's some fantasies that probably do that. I just can't think of them.
But I love. Part of me just loves it. Part of me is frustrated with their relationship, but part of me just loves reading it because it's just so entertaining. And you're like, that these two people first of all, they have no choice in the matter. They're gonna get married. And part of you wants to see it work out. Wants to see them to fall in love and stuff. But it's just so entertaining. Their witty repartee, this back and forth sniping with each other. I mean, I don't, and at the end of the day, you see that he has softness within him. He is capable of being kind to her and affectionate. It's just he is so frustrated. Unfortunately, I think he has a bit of an anger problem. But anyway, that book is Joining by Joanna Lindsey. If you are interested in it, it's on. But that is a very fun book, and it's a perfect example of the ones I'm entertained by. But like I said, I'm also conflicted about it in the case of that book. But I just love those relationships where like Sound and Music had that kind of relationship. And Beauty and the Beast is the ultimate version. I mean, it's the one that started it all for me. Pride and Prejudice. Although Pride and Prejudice is not my favorite. It's not my number one. I enjoyed it. I really did, but it wasn't it's not my number one. Okay, well, okay, so before this video gets too long, I'll go to the next trope that I like. Okay, the third one is a hard man being softened by a sweet little girl. Although now I haven't read this as much in books, but I see it in movies a lot of times. Well, I guess I read Les Mis, and Les Mis kind of has that scenario, but it's been so long since I read it, and I was kind of bored by Les Mis, the book. I liked the musical movie, but I was kind of bored by the book. But like I said, I see that more so on screen than in books and reading about it in books. But the idea of this soft-hearted person, man, like, and this little girl touching him, in a way, touching his heart, like, seeing the softer side, and you see that, and it's not just in those kind of relationships, but also in romantic relationships. I like it too, between a hard man and a woman, softening him up a bit, making him less cold. That's, I think, why I like that other trope I just mentioned, the love to hate, for the kind of the same reason. But just, I think it's so sweet, when the man bonds with the little girl, and he tries so hard not to show affection for her, tries to be cold and, cruel to her, but he can't push her away, and I'm kind of getting that a little bit in the book I'm reading right now. I'm reading, Salt to the Sea, and it kind of has that with the character of Florin. I think that's how you say it in Amelia. I don't know how to say it. Although she's not a little girl, she's 15, but she's still younger than him. It's kind of the same idea, like she's getting close to him, and he sees her as like his sister, I think that I like that. So I like that kind of relationship. I think it's really sweet, and how like a little girl is so sweet and innocent, and she can get to the guy and soften and melt his heart of stone, kind of thing. Like, I think in The Grinch, Dr. Seuss's The Grinch with Cindy Lou Who, and The Grinch, it kind of had that vibe, where she was the sweet little innocent little girl who saw the good in him and didn't judge him for his Grinchly appearance. And with her help, his heart grew 3 sizes. Although it's more prominent in the live action movie starring Jim Carrey, you definitely see it more prominently in that version of the story. The bond between Cindy Lou and the Grinch. But I love that kind of bond. I think it's so sweet, and it's just so beautiful and so cute. Okay, this next trope is the redemption arc. I love the redemption arc. Now there are cases where I feel like it was rushed. It can be rushed, like in Once Upon a Time with Hook.
Once Upon a Time, Regina's a little bit better. Her redemption arc is a little bit better, but I still feel like the writers of the show kind of rushed it. But I have a whole bunch of problems with those writers. That's why I no longer watch the show. But that's one of the things, one of the long list of things that I do not like what the writers did. The redemption arcs for Hook and Regina. Regina, like I said, Regina's was a little bit better than Hook's, but either way, I feel like both of those redemption arcs were very rushed. But other than that, I love the redemption arc. I love the idea of someone, that's dark and, have shades of gray, and they're like a criminal or someone bad, and then they're given a chance to be a good person. I mean, and that's why I think why I like characters like Spike from Buffy and Cole from Charmed, because they get a chance to redeem themselves. Of course, unfortunately with Cole, the redemption did not last. He goes back to being bad, and in fact, he goes kind of crazy and kind of mad. But although he did, actually he did get redeemed, because he had to serve his penance as, this spirit. He was stuck on the earth spiritual plane or something. I don't remember. I mean, he kind of explains it to the demon that he sent, the former demon that becomes human, that he sends to Phoebe to kind of help her out because she's giving up on love. And he doesn't, and Cole, of course, still loves Phoebe and everything, so he sends, to help her not give up and, to make up for how much he hurt her, he sends Drake, that was his name, Drake to her to get, to help her out and guide her back on the path of believing in love. So, he was like, I don't entirely understand what he was exactly, but it was like he was saying, this is my punishment for all the monstrous thing I did and being a demon and stuff. So he does get a redemption. It's just not the kind that I wanted. I wanted him and Phoebe. I was totally Phoebe and Cole. I mean, and Coop was cool too. But with Coop, I feel like we didn't get to know his character that well. But I liked, but that's why I like characters like Cole and Spike, because they get a redemption. They get a chance to redeem themselves. Get a chance to be good guys and help save the world. Both of them did, I feel like. And that's why I like, because I like redemption arcs. I think they are really, I like the idea of giving a person a second chance and showing their characterization developing into a better person, or when it's the opposite, a good person slowly becoming evil or dark and tortured. But, we're talking about, of course, redemption arcs. And, I mean, that's probably why I like the male character, not just guys like Cole and Spike, but also, like, in historical fiction, male characters like, Rochester and, Thornton, and how they were very dark and tormented, and they get a second chance at love and to be a better person, and both of them do. And that's, again, I'm going to bring this up again, Beauty and the Beast. That is one part of the story, that is another part of the aspect of the story that I love. That the Beast, it's basically a story about the Beast. The Beast's journey is about him, or aka the Prince. I call him Prince Julian, by the way, because I don't like the name Adam. And yes, I know that Disney gave him the name Adam or whatever, but you know what? I think that was just a name they slapped on because it does not fit. It does not sound like a regal name. Yes, I know it's in the Bible and it's the name of, the first man, but to me it doesn't fit, and it doesn't even sound French. I mean, I don't see the name Adam, so it just doesn't. But anyway, that's another topic. But, like, that story, his journey was him receiving redemption with the help of Belle and the Enchantress. He gets the chance to become a better person. And, of course, with that one, they kind of had to, the movie, well, no, because he was cursed probably for, like, 10 to 15 years. We just don't see that time period, of course, because we don't have time. Okay, excuse me, my dog is scratching on my door, so let me go let him in, or her, it might be Sophie, my girl dog.
No, don't even think about it. Okay, I'm back. It was Rascal, my boy dog, my little beagle. He's probably gonna jump in this chair. Probably sit behind me. He really likes this chair because it's close to my window over here. So he gets a good view. But anyway, but that's one of the aspects of that one that I love, is that it's about him getting redemption and becoming a better person. So, okay, so let's see. Alright, I got two more here. The eccentric inventor. I love the idea of the eccentric inventor, which I think you get it more so on screen than in books. Although there are characters like, yes? Okay. The eccentric, so you get that more on screen than in books. Although, books like, books like The Time Machine, but I read that one so long ago, I don't remember it that well. But I'm sure the movie versions are as close as they can get to the book. I mean, maybe not, but yeah, so that's the closest I get to reading about an eccentric inventor type character, which, I mean, by the way, a lot of these tropes I see more in TV than books, but that's not because it isn't in books, obviously. It's because, I've just come to realize since I joined BookTube a year ago, or 2 years ago, I should say, because I joined it in 2015, or no, it was a year ago. I think I joined in 2016. Or maybe it was this year. It's hard for me to keep track of the years now, especially since I'm currently, I'm just chilling at home all the time. But ever since I joined BookTube, it wasn't when I joined BookTube that I realized this, but it was before, when I started watching BookTube, that I realized this, that I remember TV shows and movies more than I remember books. Even though I've read a lot, and it makes me feel a little guilty. So I'm trying this, hence why I'm doing BookTube, participating in BookTube, because it's my way of trying to get closer to my books and read more books, because I'm just trying to have as much of a good relationship with books as I do with what's on the screen, what's in movies and TV shows. I want to have as much of a close relationship with books. So, I love the crazy inventor, the crazy hair, and all these wild ideas, and people are so, and depending on the time period, people are so judgmental of him, and it's like, you're crazy, and, there's no way this is gonna work, but it does, and, he proves to be smarter than everybody in the room, and he's just, and, I just love those kind of characters, and, Sherlock Holmes kind of reminds me of those type of characters, eccentric. He's not an inventor, but he's a detective, and he is smarter than most people in the room, and he's very entertaining, and he kind of, like I said, kind of gives the same vibes as the eccentric inventor gives usually. But, of course, again, he's not an inventor, he's like a he's a consulting detective. Which actually thinking about now, I kind of like how Belle is an inventor, in the 2017 inventor, because originally it was Maurice. He was the inventor, which I did love his character in the original, but I like him better in the 2017 version now that I'm older. But Belle is now the eccentric inventor in that version, which is really cool, especially since she's a woman, and this is a long 1600s, or no, 1700s. That's right, 1700s. I realized that watching this movie that it's very 1700s-esque. And I know an example in a book, the Lady Seraphina Trent Mysteries. It's a Christian trilogy. There's 3 mysteries. I don't know if the author ever wrote any more books or intended to write any more books.
but the character in that was the female, she was like a doctor, but she also was a little bit of an, actually no, her father was a scientist, and she wanted to be a doctor, or she was I think she was I don't remember, it's been so long since I read that trilogy, but anyway, she was kind of an eccentric inventor too, so that was one of the times I read it in a book. And I really like that about her. Okay, so the last one is characters with shades of gray. And I think a lot of people love this trope. The idea of the character that's not one side. I mean, of course, I think they're starting to develop that more with more characters. As people start to like realize that back in like that characters need to be more developed, and not just men but women too. And like in Six O'Clock, of course, my favorite ones oftentimes are the ones that are bad guys. That seem like bad guys at first, or like they are criminals or something. And I'm talking mainly about Six of Crows. I just finished that one last night. Of course, by the time the video goes up, it will be the night before, or 2 nights ago, because I'm going to save this video for tomorrow. But that one, it's kind of this. But that's the kind of character I mean, like Kaz Brecker, where he's a criminal and everything, and he seems very cold and not very good at not very good with his emotions, and he's distanced himself. But he also, when you read from his perspective in Six of Crows, you realize that he actually has a heart, and he does care about his crew and everything, and they are the closest thing to family he has, and he understands loyalty and love and stuff. I mean, he had a brother that he loved very much, but unfortunately his brother died, which is really sad and heartbreaking. And he just has all these issues because of it. He doesn't like to get close to people, and he doesn't like touching skin on skin because when his brother died, he had to float on his brother's bloated body when he died to get to shore, because it was the only thing he could float on. It was the closest thing to a floating device. So now he doesn't like skin-to-skin contact. He's really squeamish about that, but he doesn't show a lot of emotion. But then when you read from his perspective, you realize that he has feelings for his friend Inej, and he tries not to, and and it gets so frustrating because, I want him so badly to tell her how he feels and to let her know for her to know that he does love her, and she's not just one of his workers, one of his employees, but actually he does care about her, he does love her, but he won't tell her. It's driving me crazy. And I'm yelling when I get to Ned's chapters, and and we have those moments where because you can tell she has feelings for him, but because she's trying not to, because he clearly, from her perspective, he doesn't have feelings for her, and I'm like thinking, yes, he does, Inej. He's just afraid to show them. He doesn't like showing his feelings because he doesn't want to seem weak, and that always bugs me when like characters are like, oh, love is weakness. Because, I mean, I think it can be weakness, but I think it's also strength. So, I hate when people only see that love is weakness. But anyway, like I said, he is a perfect example of the type of character, the characters with shades of gray that I just love. I'm trying to, like I said, Thornton and Rochester are like that. They're very, they have flaws and everything, and they have darkness and edginess to them. Or, like, I've been watching Gotham. I really love the show Gotham, and that is a perfect example of characters that have lots of shades of gray. Like practically all the characters, none of the characters are completely good and pure, and none of them are completely, some of them, half of them lean more towards the dark side, the evil side, but they have their moments where they show compassion and caring, and that they have a tiny slither of goodness in them, and under, a purity in them. A tiny, tiny slither, like I said. So don't be like, so if someone is going to comment watching this video will be like, no, they're not, like, the bad guys in Gotham are evil and stuff, but no, they're just a tiny slither. It's a selfish sliver oftentimes, especially like with characters like Oswald, for instance, but it's there. It's a tiny, teeny, tiny little slither of goodness. But yeah, I mean, and that's why I prefer Batman over Superman. Because there's shades of gray in Batman's character. He's not perfect. He's not Mr. Self-righteous all the time. He tries to do the right thing and tries to save Gotham, but he's not perfect about it. He's not superhuman. He's just really smart, and he has all these cool gadgets and everything, and a cool car, an awesome car that I would, if I could drive a car, I would love to drive it at least once. But, or at least sit in it. Like, there was a Drew Carey episode, I think, where the Batman, where they got to sit in the Batmobile on the show Drew Carey. But anyway, so I like characters that are basically complex characters, which, I think everybody essentially loves complex characters. But basically characters with shades of gray are really, like, I'm hoping that I will, like, I'm pretty sure I'll like Girl on a Train. I haven't read it, but I've seen the movie, and the movie was pretty good. It was very interesting and entertaining. It was dramatic and sad. I felt bad, but it does turn in the movie anyway. It turns out good. So hopefully the book doesn't change the ending. Or let's hope. Or let me reverse that. Let's hope that the movie did not change the ending, because the ending was good. In the movie, the ending was happy and stuff. So I know what happens, of course, if it wasn't changed too much in the movie. But I will probably like it because there's lots of great shades of gray in that story, according to the movie. But but I like it when it's basically very prominent. Like, you can tell there's shades of gray with the characters. You see it more, I feel like. Well, no, actually, you see it equally in both good guys and bad guys. I say quotes because, you don't really know, we give these labels to characters that are a good guy and a bad guy because there are obviously some things that they do that are immoral or moral. So sometimes it's obvious, but I think sometimes it's a lot more complicated than that. Not to excuse, like, the bad guys for the behaviors that they do, but and not that I'm not going to reward the good guys for the behaviors that they do, but I still feel like it's a complex thing, especially in fantasy. I remember Sam from Thoughts on Tomes was talking about how there's a difference between contemporary and fantasy, and how fantasy, the rules are completely different for characters, not to excuse their behavior, but I feel like with fantasy it's even more complicated. Because a lot of times they're in situations where they have to do questionable things. So basically I'm saying I agree with her. If she ever watches this video, I agree with you on that topic. Remember, you talked about, I think it was the topic where you're talking about bad boys in fiction. And I agree in the sense that fantasy, it's a little more fantasy and science fiction and dystopian, it's a little more complicated for labeling when it comes to the label of who's the bad boy character. Now, I don't read a lot of contemporary, so I can't decide how I feel about that. Of course, from what I heard, contemporary bad boys aren't that great. I mean, they can be sexy, but they are really, it gets to the point where they can be abusive and assholes, and not even forgivable assholes all the time. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. So, okay, hopefully this video isn't too long. If not, then I'm wasting my time talking to myself, and I'm going to have to make another video anyway, and shorten this one. Alright, bye. I hope you guys enjoyed my Tropes That I Love video.